Good morning everyone and welcome to another video in my channel. Today I'll be discussing the concept of VLOOKUP with duplicate values. I am assuming that you are aware of the basics of VLOOKUP, how to perform VLOOKUP when the values are unique. But you're also aware of the fact that VLOOKUP doesn't work as intended when it comes to duplicate values. For example, here I have the names of a few students and the marks that they have scored. And I find that the names are repeating. If you observe, I have the name Alan once, twice, thrice. I have the name Charlie twice. And the remaining names, Tim and Kelly, they occur only once. Now the problem with VLOOKUP in this case will be, if I try to look up for the value of Alan, I will always get back the first occurrence. So if you observe, Alan occurs how many times? So this is one occurrence of Alan. This is the second occurrence. This is the third occurrence. There are three occurrences, right? Now I am looking to find some way. I am looking to come up with a method so that I'll get back all these three values. If I do VLOOKUP as it is, if I use VLOOKUP in its natural form, then the problem that I'll face is I'll always get back the first occurrence. So which is the first occurrence of Alan? The first occurrence of Alan is 56. So every time I look up the name Alan in this particular table, I'll always get back 56. But I want to find the marks scored by all the three students who have the name Alan. So then what do I do? Will traditional VLOOKUP work? Not really. We have to include something extra. Okay, so let's go about it. The first thing that we need to do is we need to come up with a unique ID. We need to come up with a unique ID for every lookup value. What is the value that we are trying to look up here? We're trying to look up the names. We're trying to look up the names here. What we need to do is we need to come up with a unique value for every name. So this particular value, Alan, this particular row, this needs to have a unique value against the name. Similarly, this one has to have a unique value against the name. And the same goes on for the remaining students. So how do I come up with this unique value? So one thing is you can do it manually. So you can do something like 1 Alan. This is the unique value that I'm talking about. Let's create a new column called unique ID. So this is what I'm talking about. This is what I want. I want 1 Alan. I want 1 Charlie. I want 2 Alan, right? I want 2 Charlie. I want 1 Tim. I want 1 Kelly. And I want 3 Alan. This is my output. This is my objective here. This is the target that I'm trying to achieve. But doing this manually is, yeah, you can go about it. But then when you're dealing with a lot of data, this will present a problem, right? When you're dealing with a lot of data and you have to type out these values manually, it becomes a problem. So instead of typing it out manually, there is a hack that I want to share with you. So let's see how we can automate this process. This process of generating the unique IDs, how can we automate it? Let's have a look. Now there is a function called COUNTIF. There's a function called COUNTIF, and just let me type the formula and then I'll explain the reasoning behind it. It takes two inputs, the range and the criteria. The range that I'm going to provide is start from this particular cell, right, and go up to this cell. But I'm going to fix the first part. I'm going to fix this. How am I going to fix this? By pressing F4. I can press F4 and you see that the dollar symbol before the column name, which is B, and the dollar symbol before the row number, which is 3, appears. So this will fix the lower range. So range has two parts to it, right? Separated by a colon. On the left of the colon, I have the lower range, right? I have the lower value of the range, and on the right side of the colon, I have the upper value of the range. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for the range such that my lower part of it is fixed. So it'll always start from B3, but the upper part will vary. So in the first case, I'll start from B3 and I'll go up to B3. That means I'll only consider the cell B3. If I'm starting from a cell B3 and I'm going up to B3, I'm considering only one cell. Now, when I'm going to drag it down, in the case of Charlie, what will happen? I'll start from B3, but I'll go up to B4. So I'll see in these two cells, B3 and B4, how many times has Charlie occurred? Right? How many times has Charlie occurred? Once. So I'll get 1 here. Now, when I drag it down further and I bring it to A5, when I bring this formula to A5, what do I find? I find that the range is B3 to B5. So, in this range of B3 to B5, how many times does Allen occur? Twice. So, I'll get 2 here, right? Then again, for the cell A6, I'm dragging down the formula. So, the formula comes to the cell A6, and what will I get for the cell A6? From B3 to B6, if I look at the range, I'll have B3 is fixed, the lower part is fixed, and I'll go up to B6. Because of relative referencing, this particular value B3 will change to B6 when I'm here in this cell A6. So from B3 to B6, how many times does Charlie occur? Twice, right? So in this way, I'll be able to generate unique values. And what will be the criteria? The criteria is, of course, the name. It is the name that I'm trying to count. So for criteria, I'll simply mention the B3 value. Close it off, press enter. You can see now I get 1. Now see what happens when I drag it down. See, I'm dragging it down. Can you see? So I get 1 here in the first case because it's from B3 to B3, right? Now look what happens to the formula here. It's from B3 to B4. So in this range of B3 to B4, how many times does the word Charlie occur? Once. So I get the COUNTIF as 1. If you look at this part, now see, it's from B3 to B5. So in the range B3 to B5, how many times does Allen occur? Twice. So I get 2 here. In this particular range, see, B3 to B6, in this particular range, how many times does the term B6 occur? B6 is what? Charlie. How many times does it occur? It occurs twice. So I get 2 here. Now for every name, you can see I'm getting the count, right? So in this case, in this particular case, Allen has occurred once, so I get 1 here. In this particular row, Charlie has occurred once, so I get 1 here. In this particular row, this is the second occurrence of Allen, so I get 2 here, rightly so. In this particular row, the one that I've selected right now, I get the count of Charlie for the second time, right? And so on, it repeats. So in this way, we can generate the unique IDs. But see, the ID is still not unique. Why? Because values are repeating. I have 1 for Allen, I have 1 for Charlie. I have 1 for Tim, I have 1 for Kelly. So it's not unique. So I need to do something more. What is that something more? Let me concatenate the name along with the ID. So if I concatenate the name, this one, this cell, because the column B is generating the names. So I'll say B3 ampersand the COUNTIF. Then what will happen is, so I get Allen 1. Now see, if I drag it down, can you see? I'm getting unique values now. Now the values are not repeating, so I have Allen 1, Allen 2, Charlie 1, Charlie 2, I have Allen 3, Tim 1, Kelly 1. Now the IDs are genuinely unique. This was the first step of generating the unique IDs, and we managed to automate it. Now in the second part, what we do is we actually move over to the VLOOKUP part. So let's say I want to select the name from a drop down list. Why not? I want to select the name from a drop down list. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll go to data validation, click on the first option. I don't want to allow any value, I want a list of values, and here I'll simply type out the names. So I can say Allen, Charlie, Tim, and Kelly. Right? These are the 4 names. Now you see it comes up as a drop down list. Great. Now I want to find the marks code. All right. Now how do I go about it? See, VLOOKUP. What is the lookup value? What is the lookup value that I am trying to go for? I'm trying to go for the name. But will only name work? No. Why? Because names are repeating. So instead of the name, I have to include this unique ID. I have to include this unique ID. But in the drop down list, it makes sense to have the names, right? It makes sense to have the names of the students and not the unique IDs. Okay, so I have to somehow change this particular lookup value from name to unique ID. How do I do that? Again, there is a hack. What is that hack? So if I take this, so I would want this particular cell E3 to remain fixed, right? Because it will always come from this drop down list. So the drop down list can be found in the cell E3. So I would want it to remain fixed. So let me do that. So I'll go towards the beginning, press F4. Now see, I am currently on which row? I am currently on row number 3. It starts, the unique ID starts from 1. The unique ID starts from 1. I am currently on row number 3. There's a function called row. There is a function called row. What this function does is it simply returns the row number. So I'm currently on position 3. I'm currently in row 3, mind you. I'm currently in row 3. I'm typing this formula in the cell F3, right? I'm typing this VLOOKUP formula in the cell F3. That means I'm currently positioned on row 3. So if I call the row function here, I'll get back 3. Okay, I'll get back 3. Now my IDs are lined up in such a way that it is name followed by a number. And this number starts from what value? This number starts from the value 1. I am currently on row 3. How much should I subtract from my row number in order to get 1? I should subtract 2. I should subtract 2. Again, why am I subtracting 2? I am subtracting 2 because the number that is attached to every name starts from 1. So what I do is, I do row minus 2. Because if I'm starting from row 3, right? I'm currently typing the VLOOKUP formula in row 3. Only if I subtract 2 will I get the value 1. And what would I want to do? I would want to concatenate these two values. So name concatenated with the number will give me the unique ID. Okay. Next, I would want the table array. So table array includes the entire thing, including the unique ID. And I would want the table array to remain fixed in its position because I'll be dragging this VLOOKUP formula down. If I don't fix the table array, then the cell range for the table array will change, which I don't want. I would be dragging down this formula because I would want the marks for all the students by a particular name. So if I don't fix the table array address, then the references will change because of relative referencing. So what do I need to do? I need to fix this. So now it's fixed. Okay, I've fixed it. After fixing it, I have to mention the column index number. So I want the marks code. The marks code is found in which column? It's found in column 3, right? Marks code is found in column 3. Unique ID is in column 1. Name is in column 2. Marks code is in column 3. So I'll type 3 here. And I want an exact match. So I'll go for false, close it off, press enter. Now you might be wondering, why do I get NA? Because I'm not selected any name. So if I go for Alan, you see I get 56. If I drag it down, you see I get all the marks. I get 56, 71, 88, which are the 3 marks for the 3 students with the name Alan. See, 56 Alan, 71 Alan, and 88 Alan. Same thing will happen if I go with Charlie. If I go with Charlie, I get 62 and 74. See, Charlie has scored 62, Charlie has scored 74. But there's a small problem here. The problem is I'm getting these unnecessary NA values. So how do I get rid of these NA values? Again, there's a small hack to it. So let's see. What we can do is we can make use of a function known as if error. So what this if error function does is, if we are not getting a correct value, this formula or this value denotes the VLOOKUP formula here. If you look at the selection that I currently have, value denotes the current VLOOKUP formula. What if error does is, it checks for the value. It checks for the value passed to it. Here the value that I am passing is the VLOOKUP function. If the VLOOKUP function in this case does not generate a correct value, then I have to mention an error value, which is denoted by value if error. This value if error denotes the value that will come up in case my VLOOKUP function does not work properly. So what I can say is, give me a blank cell. So blank cell is simply denoted by two double quotes back to back. So if I close it off and if I press enter, and now see what happens, I can drag it down as much as I want. I get only 2 cells to be active, right? See, now if I go for Alan, the NA values do not come up. So what just happened was, I was able to nullify those portions where the VLOOKUP formula is not working correctly. Because think about it, here we have a small collection of data. So I know that I'll go maximum up to 3 cells. I'll go maximum up to 3 cells because the name Alan occurs thrice. But even in that case, if I had something like Tim, for which I get only one value for marks, even in that case 2 cells would contain NA, which doesn't look nice. So this is how you can get rid of those NA values, that wherever your VLOOKUP function is not working, replace them with blank values. And the thing is, this VLOOKUP function, it will not work in the same way for all the names. For Alan, it will give me 3 values. For Charlie, it will give me 2 values. For the other 2 names, Tim and Kelly, I'll get 1 value each. So it will not work in the same way for all the names. So I have to use this if error function if I want to avoid that NA problem, right? So I hope this makes sense to you, and if you have any doubts, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I can see you in the next one. But I think before I leave, let me show you the same formula so that you can understand that row subtraction in another cell. You remember, right? We did this row subtraction. Why did we do this row minus 2? Because our IDs have a numerical part. The IDs have a numerical part, and that numerical part starts from 1. I am currently writing this VLOOKUP function in row 3. So how much should I subtract from row 3 in order to get 1? I should subtract 2. That's why you have row minus 2, right? Let's see what happens if I use a different cell. So if I use something like this particular cell, now the lookup value, what will be the lookup value? The lookup value will be the name, of course. I would want to fix this, and I'll be concatenating with the row function. But how much should I subtract this time? See, I'm currently typing this formula on row 10. So how much should I subtract from 10 in order to get 1? I should subtract 9. Why am I subtracting 9? Because if I subtract 9 from 10, I'll get 1, and my ID is starting from 1, right? And this should be actually the other way around, right? The row should come after the name, because it is name followed by ID. It's Alan 1, it's not 1 Alan. So E3 is going to give me the name, and row is going to give me the number. So if I'm going to just concatenate this, I'll get the result. I'll get the appropriate unique ID. Now the table array, again, it remains the same, including the unique ID column. Again, I would like to fix this table array. So click on this tooltip table array and then fix the entire thing by clicking on F4. Okay. Now give a comma, column index number. The column index number is marks scored, which is your third column, right? Your third column. And you would want an exact match. Press tab, close it off, and if I press enter, I get 66 here, right? It's with Tim. If I go with Alan, I get 56, and if I drag it down, I'm getting those NA values. So how do I overcome the NA values? Very simple. Enclose the entire VLOOKUP formula within if error. So if error is giving me this particular value of VLOOKUP function, and if the VLOOKUP function value is not correct, or if it's not generating any value, then the error that I want to generate is simply a blank cell. So the blank cell is denoted by 2 double quotes. I press enter, and now if I drag it down, I can drag it down as much as I want. So I get the appropriate values. Again, if I change this to Charlie, you see in both cases the values are changing in the same way with Tim and with Kelly. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you have any doubts, like I said, you can leave it in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.